Good afternoon from upstate New York, where it's 74 degrees and bright sunshine. We are getting that Indian summer everybody's talking about, but tomorrow's going to be in the 50s. So we'll take the good with the bad, right? So this is Tom Nowetner, the conversationalist. Like, subscribe, send me a comment, even if it's a bad comment. I want to hear from you, okay? It's really important. Uh, Share. Thank you to Ed and Benny and Jerry and Madeline and Dolores. You all shared my uh, musings, both off my page and off of X. I thought that was great. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Josh's going to run 4 different places that we want you to support. And I'm not going to go through it right now, but he'll flash them up on the screen and we can talk about them more later because I have something hot off the presses. 3 hours ago, I got back from a well known university in Ithaca, New York, which I won't tell you which one because there's two well known ones up there, but I want to make this as anonymous as possible. I spoke to graduate students today, and I very much enjoyed that banter back and forth with the alphas. Oh, and remember we had that question? It was in emails about what the next generation was, what they're going to name them. Officially, they haven't come up with them. One of the people that were in was a graduate student that works for BAE, and he must be in the contracts office. So after I posed that, he actually went on a deep dive down the rabbit hole, but he says there's nothing listed yet. Isn't that amazing? I would have thought they'd have that out well before now, but it's the government and they're busy with elections, right? So what do we got? 12 days, 11 days with a wake up, like they say in jail, you know, before we have to vote, vote, vote. What more can I say to you? If you vote for somebody, guess what? You can vote them out if they don't do what they said they would. Now, here in upstate New York, we've got a bunch of liars. We've got a woman from, I think it's South Carolina, who is an attorney for the cigarette industry who moved up here and qualified, and now she's a senator. How do you like that? She's not even in New York State, but she's a senator from New York State. Sick, isn't it? We got another candidate that's hooked up with the Chinese investment firms and is supported by them so that they can buy property in upstate New York. The other one running, you're going to love this one, hasn't told the truth about anything since this campaign started. And his opponent and his minions have been pointing out all this stuff. And they flash up there the actual text of what he did say compared to what he's saying now for election. So we are at the point of not least worst, but it's a vacant hole. And every one of the plugs that we want to put in it don't fit. Isn't that terrible? So I sat down with these students. There was about 35 of them. By the end of the class, I think we were over 50. They kept, more people kept wandering in, I guess, between classes. So for an hour, we discussed some of my videos. The interns that, work for me also have classes up in Ithaca, which I won't tell you which college. But they're really good kids, and I tease them a lot, and I yell at them, but they're used to that now. They've been with me now for about 2 months. And unfortunately, I'm going to have to give them up and get 2 more that I'm going to have to train. So I think I'm going to go to the route of an executive assistant working 3 days a week. I think that will be more advantageous for me because these guys can't even keep the calendar. I was downstairs getting a blood transfusion because of my aortic leakage, and I thought they had me all set up. I come upstairs, they're playing video games on my computer. Don't you just love it? So I kicked them out. It's just me and the dog in the house. Probably around 3:30. All the little diseased, infected humans will show up. All right. So anyway, this was a great group of people that I got to meet, and they had coffee, and they had my favorites, Dunkin' Donuts, and uh, they had it was called Ithaca Donuts, and they had bear claws. I haven't had a bear claw in years, so I cut one in half and had a piece of that because they were huge. Why am I telling you all this? Because I'm setting the stage. I want you to understand it was comfortable. We weren't in a we were in a lounge with chairs and couches and really nice. So it was an intimate group, although it was a little bit larger than my normal intimate group. And they had seen a few of my videos, and in the beginning it was very confrontational. They took offense to the way I portrayed all these, you know, Z's and alphas, and I ignore the X's and millennials, and I I have so many friends that are millennials and X that if I'm too kind to them, I'll lose my edge because they're pretty good. I raised the X's and some of the millennials, so I got to be careful with them because I raised them, which is a scary thought. All right, so it doesn't matter what the video is. It just means that they see me as an old person who's saying the old way is always good and we did it this way and that way. And if you really look at my videos, I don't do that. I say, this is the way we did it. This is what I see you guys doing. Understand that there was a reason for us to do things that way. It was real important that you know, understand that I don't see a whole lot of progress. The education system, that was actually the third thing that we talked about, but I really want to uh, bring it up as the first thing because I take a lot of exception to the new education system, whether it's kindergarten, sixth grade, 10th grade, 12th grade, college. We are teaching more about attitude and acceptance and making everybody feel comfortable. Meanwhile, all the arithmetic and social and history and those formative things, like reading books, we were responsible to read big books like Moby Dick and what was the other one that I really hated? I had to read it. How Green Is My Valley. But they were assigned to me, and I had to read them, and so I read them, and I wrote my report. Do you know how many of these kids? When I said, "Who's read a book in the last year?" Not one hand went up because I told them I'm excluding textbooks, and they laughed because most of their textbooks are online, so they don't even handle textbooks anymore. Shows you how informed I am. So take everything I say with a grain of salt. Oh, but I said, is anybody, like when you were sitting on the beach. So then I said, how many people use audiobooks? And out of about 30 to 35, one hand came up. And while I was talking, two hands came up because this girl forgot that she was last year on vacation. Her mother handed her a book, and they were so bored that she had to actually read some of it. She didn't read the whole book, but she read a few chapters, which I was excited about. And then she took the audiobook because she lost the book and finished the book. You see what I'm saying here? We have a shortcoming. And the problem with the shortcoming is the people that are teaching don't understand what's changed. Obviously, the students don't appreciate what has changed. So you're going to a 4-year college. You're expected within 1 year after that to have your master's. That's how these colleges work up here. 5-year master program. A lot of these kids come in they're practically juniors. They're sophomores, but they got enough credits, out of our public school system because they give them all this advanced classes. So doing your bachelor's and your master's in 5 years is nothing. Even though it took me 31 years to do it. To get my master's, huh? Yeah, I just felt the need. Also, I'm a glutton for punishment. So I went back to school and I got my master's. It took me 18 months and I went through the, you know, some courses were online, some courses I had to appear for, but it was good. And all the labs, obviously, you have to appear for because it was to do with forensics and interrogation and preserving the scene. It was just, a master class and everything we were taught the first for my bachelor's. So these, I don't want to call them children because that's unfair. These young people, in their ignorance, are very happy. They are sitting on top of the world. Why do I say that? Well, they wake up in the morning, they hit the chow hall, they hit their first class, and when I ask how many are late for your first class, almost every time you have a first class, the whole place put their hands up. I said, in my time, it was disrespectful to come in after class started. In fact, we had professors that locked the door. You couldn't get in if you were late because they didn't want you to disrupt the class. And they were horrified by that. They were absolutely horrified that some professor where they are paid. Now listen to me. These two colleges up in Ithaca, you're going to pay 70 grand for 1 year. And the other one, you're going to spend about 55 for 1 year. These are Ivy League colleges. That's a lot of money for an education. You better get a degree that makes a lot of money to pay that back, or be a friend of Joe Biden's and get it written off. But that's another story because they don't really write it off. You know that taxpayers are paying, and then they send paid in full receipt to students who incurred the debt. Now, I don't begrudge anybody borrowing money. If you're borrowing money to pay for classes, I think that's a good investment. I hope you're into a curriculum that's going to get you a really great job and you're not studying American literature of the Navajo tribes, because that's not going to get you anything. That got a little heated when I said that, because they were all defending their degrees in, I don't know, colloquial science of Benjamin Franklin. It's strange. I went down the list of classes and I was just, there was a class about Bible interaction in the modern world. It's a 3-credit course and it costs $4,000. How does that fit into anything? I don't understand. So I, me being me, of course, I asked, who knows about the Templar Knights? Actually, 4 people did know who the Templar Knights were, but they got the dates wrong. They got that they didn't know they were Christians sent over there by kings, and that although they got defeated, they did win a bunch of battles, and but the Muslims' armies were just too great at the time, too well armed and manned, and they all rode horses, which made them superior to any knight on the ground. And a lot of the Templars moved in units, not on horses at the time. Sure, the generals had horses and whomever else they let them, but the regular knight, the foot soldier, he just walked. So the Muslims they did easily beat them in the end, but they paid the price for messing with them. But nobody knew about that. Nobody has been taught that part of history. So I asked, how many people have read any Aristotle? Maybe one or two in the back. And I think they were raising their hand because they had to go to the bathroom. I had two professors come in. And after the class, they both cornered me. And they were quite defensive. And I have to say that defensive to the point of panic that somebody would be saying these things out front. Now, you have to understand what we did was not maintain the educational system and maintain the grading and testing. We've changed everything, even the grading and the testing. One, you can opt out of tests now and just be reviewed by your professor and the number of papers you turned in. Isn't that funny? You can pass a class. Hopefully it is in open heart surgery. But you can have a class and pass it without taking the final. Because so many people in the new generations are so phobic about tests that they allowed them to opt out. Now, some of the professors who are not on board with this have made a time of presentation. So you can go through the class, but you have to make a presentation if you're not going to take the final exam or the last exam. So if you're a really good actor or actress and you can really lay it down or an orator, guess what? You pass the class. Now, we used to say, look, I don't care if you get C's in every class. Nobody is going to look at your transcript. You send them a copy of that sheepskin. That's all they care about. They verify that you graduated with whatever's on the sheepskin. They never look at your grades in these classes. How does that work? If you're already gone through your bachelor's of, medical school, or not medical school, but pre-med, and then you have a year or 2 years, whatever is left on your time to get your master's in biology or corn removal or popping pimples, whatever it is, whatever your specialty is going to be. Nose hair rearrangement. That's the one I want to see because I hate my nose hairs. I think they grow as I'm cutting them, but that's another story. So right now we're about 18 minutes into this, so I want to say like, subscribe, help me out, comment, share, look up with my favorite charities like St. Jude and Aortic Hope. These people do good work, and I hope that you have at least clicked on their page. If you have done nothing else, please just click on their page, see what they're all about. I think once you do, you'll understand why I'm so proactive with